family were. I thought we weren't recording.
No, we shouldn't be recording right now.
Did I do that? I might have done that by doing
Okay.
something else.
And Rob, and this was a question. Well, not to, I mean. It is 2:00.
Welcome, everybody. We are so glad that you all are here with us today, and we are very excited to be kicking off this DART training of trainers that everybody has been working so hard on. For those who don't know me, I think I know many of you, but not everyone in the room. My name is Michelle Vick, and I am the Associate Director of the Distance Education Professional Development Center at TCAL. And I have been one of the ones helping just kind of keep everything running and moving towards this event this week. And we have here today several people from TCAL, Tracy Hendricks, Robin Booth, who are our training of trainer specialists who walk us through how to put together a TOT, and Paula Bowers here with us as well. She's learning to, or becoming a training of trainer specialist for TCAL as well. And then we have Glenda Rose and Denise Guckert. They are our trainers, and they are also the ones who have written this amazing curriculum that we're very excited to show you and for you to become trained on, so that you can train instructors how to use this curriculum with their students. And I think we also have Anson Green here today from Tyson. He's the one who got this whole party started. I have no idea exactly, but I'm gonna guess it's at least a year and a half or 2 years ago, probably. So we're really glad that he's here with us today as well. And we are going to have a great group working together all week. You'll get to know each other as we work together in this TOT. We're looking forward to seeing all of you later this week in Houston. Hopefully you all have the details you need for that. If you don't, please reach out to Anson or to me, and we'll make sure you have everything you need. But today we're going to hear from Glenda Rose and Denise Guckert as they go over the trainer guide and just give an overview of this training of trainers that you guys are going to be doing this week. And we're really excited to have them with us and to hear from them today. So I'm going to turn it over to them and say welcome, Glenda and Denise.
Hi, everybody. Hello. So I am Glenda, and that is Denise, and she's going to kick us off.
Oh, great. Well, thanks so much. We're real happy to be here. It's good. I see a lot of people that I don't know, which is always fun to meet new people, and some people that I have seen. Glenda probably knows more folks than I do. We're real happy to be here today. We're doing a little overview of the training as far as the scheduling, but we're really going to be taking time to look at the trainer guide. It worked this way virtually. A lot of times we do this at the end of the training, but we're going to be doing something different on Friday. So we're just going to be going through this. I think you guys got a copy of it. You may have had to look at this. And if you've ever been a trainer in Texas before, you've probably seen this trainer guide format and are somewhat familiar with it. We go next. We want to do some, my name again is Denise, and we have Glenda on the line, and we wanted to do some introductions. We kind of want to know who's here. So I'm going to pull up my gallery view and go ahead and we'll call on your name. See if I can see my gallery view right now. Do you have your gallery view up, anyone? Sure. I wanted to look at, oh, here we go. I want to see people. Okay, so let me just call on you and let me know where you're from, because we know we have people on the line that are from Texas and not from Texas. So my first person up here is Cynthia. So if you'd unmute and let us know where you're from today.
Hi, I'm Cynthia. I'm from San Antonio but live in Kyle.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, do you work, do you teach right now?
I'm a coordinator for our IETs and online coordinating our ESL classes and ABE and a little bit of everything, like a lot of us.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Okay, we got Amber. Hi, Amber.
Hi, I'm Amber. I work for Austin Community College in Austin, Texas, and I teach ESL. And I just took the position as PD supervisor over from Debbie. So
I know, congratulations. So Amber,
Thank you.
okay. Well, that's great. Thank you. And Amber does lots of training. I've been to lots of her training. And we also have Griselda's up next.
Hello, I'm Griselda Valerio, and I'm also from Austin Community College. I'm a coordinator for career pathways programs, but I also take many of those classes too.
Okay, super. Thanks, Griselda. We've got Paula Bauer.
Howdy, everyone. I'm Paula Bauer. I work with TCOL and I'm a PD specialist in training for the TOTs. Thanks, Denise.
Oh, sure. We've got Elizabeth.
Hi, everybody. I'm Liz Moya, and I'm joining you from El Paso, Texas. I'm a program coordinator, and I'm just excited to be here today.
Great. I've got Ryan.
Oh, sorry. There we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan. I'm a program specialist with Richardson ISD, which is right outside of Dallas.
Okay. We've got, looking at my names. Thanks, Ryan. We've got Tiffany.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tiffany Lee. I live in Burke Burnett, but I work out of Region 9 Education Service Center in Wichita Falls, Texas. And then I also, I do the distance learning. I'm part of that program. And then I work for the Distance Education Call Center for the Learning Support Specialist.
You do a lot. Okay, thanks, Tiffany. We got Tracy.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm Tracy Hendricks. I work with TCOL, and my main responsibility is to oversee training of trainer events for TCOL. So we're very excited to have you with us today, and looking forward to see you on Thursday and Friday. So thank you, Denise.
Sure. And then we got Michelle. We got lots of folks here from Texas, but bear with us, all of you that aren't. So we'll get to you. Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle Vick, and I introduced myself earlier, and I've got to answer a phone call because I'm also answering phones for TCOL today.
Funny. Okay. Can't get away from it. Great. Okay. Thanks, Michelle. Robin.
Hello, everybody. I'm Robin Booth, and I'm so happy that you're here. I work with Tracy, and together we help coordinate and birth these TOTs. So thank you so much for being here.
Great. Okay, we got Ashley. You already met Ashley, maybe, but if you could just introduce yourself one more time.
Yeah,
Ashley.
sorry, Michelle and I share an office, so we had to swap. We had to swap our audio. It's like a constant nightmare. Ashley Winkle. I am the manager of the Distance Education Call Center, as well as a links moderator for the Tech Integration Coach program. I think I know everybody, but here I am. Good to see everybody.
Thanks. How about Kimberly?
Hey, I'm Kimberly. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and I work at the University of Memphis's IEI Intensive English for Internationals Department.
Where is it at that you work at again? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh, I'm sorry. The University of Memphis. They have a
Memphis. Okay.
intensive English program.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
After that, I've got I don't know if it's Haley. Is that the right way to pronounce it? H-A-L-I?
Yeah, Haley. Yeah, thank you. My name is Haley Massey. I'm the ESOL specialist at the Virginia Adult Learning Resource Center. We call it VALRIC. So I do professional development for adult educators who are working with English language learners across the state of Virginia.
Great. Okay. I don't know how it ended up like this way, but we're getting people from out of state now. So we got Kimberly and Haley. We got Jessica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica. I live in Springdale, Arkansas, and I teach ESL to adults.
Great. Thanks, Jessica. We've got Janine.
Hi, I'm Janine Wenzel. I'm joining from New Braunfels, Texas. I'm an adult ed coordinator for the online ESL classes for community action.
Okay, great. Hi, Janine. And we have Maxine, and I didn't know if Alicia is with you because I saw Alicia's name and now I don't see it.
So I logged in as Alicia. She's not with me, but I just pinged her to find out where she is because I know she's supposed to
Okay,
come in.
okay,
She
good.
planned
'Cause
it.
yeah, you changed the name. That's what happened. Okay.
Yeah, we share Zooms around here. So hi, everybody. I'm Maxine
Yes.
Stefano. I'm in Houston. I'm with Baker Ripley. And yeah, I'm excited to see this. I've been the digital literacy coordinator, and Alicia has been teaching some of the DART, actually all of the DART curriculum. So I'm anxious to see how everybody else interprets it. And I'm really looking forward to this.
Oh,
Thank you.
good. Yeah. I love that. Okay. Thanks, Maxine. I don't know if it's V or Vi. I am so sorry. But
You can call me Vi.
Vi. Okay.
Yeah, my name is Vi Hawes. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. I am an ESOL instructor at Pima Community College Adult Basic Education, and I'm also the educational technology coach.
Great. Wow. And then we have Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam Lingard. I'm based out of Northwest Arkansas, and I'm an adult ESL instructor, and I also design online courses in ESL.
Okay, thanks. I think I got everyone. If not, speak up, but I think I went through my list. Well, we have a group of people that have lots of experience with ESL and with digital literacy and with instruction and curriculum design. So it's a wonderful group today. Thanks, everyone. And again, we've already introduced a few people, me, Glenda, and Anson Green. So we'll go to the next slide.
Are we sure that Anson doesn't want to at least say hi before we
Anson,
go?
well, he kind of said something earlier. Do you want to introduce yourself again? I'm sorry, Anson. I don't want to leave you out. I know you were talking a little bit, so I said, well, I don't know.
It's fine. I just want to thank everybody for jumping on and thank Glenda and Denise for putting this together with the TCAL team. A little explanation and make sure everybody's aware. So we have a group from Texas and then the Texas Professional Development Center team, TCAL team, that is kind of collaborating with me and then with our out-of-state trainers to build this kind of digital capacity on multiple fronts. We are kind of focused on it with Tyson Foods, where I work across the country. And some of the trainers that are from out of state are going to help me in that effort. And then kind of the deal that we've put together here is Texas was so excited about this. They wanted to help put this event together for us. So I want to thank them very much. And then Denise and Glenda have done just the heavy lifting of putting this together, revising the curriculum, which I sent out to the out-of-state folks today, and just putting it together. So it's going to be a great few days here for us. And thank everybody for jumping in on this one because it's going to be exciting and so good to see some of my old Texas friends. Still live in San Antonio, by the way, everybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let Glenda take this slide.
Okay, so let's just go over what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to talk about, well, we just did the introductions, but we're going to mainly talk about using the trainer guide. And everyone has a copy. If you do not have a copy, please put it in the chat. Let us know that you're missing your copy of the trainer guide. We're going to talk about what to do before the workshop and the day of the workshop, some things about facilitating the training, especially using the pacing guide and reading your slide notes to know what you're going to be saying during the workshop. And then we'll go over some of the trainer tips that are in all of the TOTs. If you've done TOTs with TCAL before, you've seen these, but we're going to go over some of them that we think are most important. And then we'll just see if you guys have any questions. That's what we're going to head into today. And our objectives for today, we are going to explain how to use the trainer guide to prepare for a local training. We'll also talk about preparing for an online training and how to use the pacing guide and the PowerPoint slide notes to deliver a well-paced, engaging presentation. I know that you've been in workshops before where things felt rushed, and we want to try and avoid that. You've also probably been in ones where people felt disengaged, and we want to try to avoid that also. So we'll spend some time talking about that. And then we'll identify some effective strategies for training facilitation, including those do's and don'ts. We'll do a little practice of active listening and dealing with maybe difficult's not the right word. Maybe I should say challenging participants, and then how to be flexible or adaptable when things don't always work out the way we plan, because they don't always work out the way we plan, as you probably know.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead. We have had a few people join us. I know we've got Rachel, I see Della, Olga, and I see someone that's in Adam Willard. So hi, Rachel. Rachel's from, is it World Education? Why don't you say real quickly, we'll introduce these 4 last folks so we know who's on the line.
Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Rachel Riggs, and I work for World Education for our EdTech Center and for Crowded Learning, which is our OER initiative. And I'm super excited to learn more.
Great, thank you. And Della, I saw you were on the line.
Yeah. Hi, Glenda. Hi, Denise. I work at Tyson Foods with Anson Green. Happy to be here on the call. And the other person that joined, Adam Willard, is our new program specialist, and this is his first day at Tyson. So
Oh,
I'll let him
well, great.
introduce himself as well.
Okay, can't find him. Adam.
Yes, hello. We're having a little bit of trouble getting my video started, it looks like, but yes, I'm a new program specialist with Tyson Foods as well.
Excellent.
Just started today.
Okay, well, congratulations on a new job. And then we have Olga. I saw her join.
Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Olga Escamilla, and I am to be a silent participant here, observing to assist with future TOTs with Train PD at TCall. So thank you. I'll be quiet now. Thank you.
Hey, great. Okay, well, I will continue. I don't see the slide. Did you mute the slide, Glenda?
Nope, I'm still seeing it, but I'll reshare it just in case.
Reshare it because I'm getting black. I don't know why.
Yes,
I have black as well. Yeah, everybody went black. It's like, okay.
How's that? You guys see it again?
No.
Oh, well, isn't that interesting? You gotta love technology when it works.
I know. Well, it, you know, it's
Hold
like
on
a car.
just a
It's
second.
gonna break down. But now I can see everybody at once. It's kind of nice to do that.
Okay, going back to my controls. Hold on just a second. I've got everything open and make in different sizes. So getting back here, we go share screen and go to the second screen. And then should you see it now?
Oh, yes, I see it now. Thank you so
All
much.
right. You're welcome.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to just go over the dates and the times of everything that we're doing and give you a little bit of heads up preview. So today is our webinar. We're going to concentrate on the trainer guide. Then we have what we call a teacher training simulation. On Thursday, we're going to see y'all from 8:30 to 4:30 and almost, oh, Ashley, happy birthday. So most of the time you are going to be like a teacher in a training. You're going to pretend, I mean, you are going to be the teacher. We're going to be the trainer. So you actually go through the training as a teacher. We do wrap it with 15 minutes at the beginning and 30 minutes at the end where we do trainer stuff. One of the things that we'll do at the end of the day on Thursday is for half an hour, we'll talk about our trainer demonstrations. And any of you who've been to the Texas TOTs, we've started them since the beginning, where we have the participants actually demo part of the training. It's a great way to get into the material. You do about 15 minutes and we go through a lot of the material. We don't get through all of it, but everyone gets a chance. And then we give feedback. This time we've decided, as in the past, we've done it different ways, but we're going to let you give feedback using index cards. So it is private feedback, but we also have a little time worked in where you can get some oral kudos to people, okay, for what they've done great. I've always learned a lot in those demonstrations, such as the fact that I rub when I'm sitting down, I rub my legs a lot, and it's a bad habit. So I never knew I did that till someone told me, see? Okay, so that's gonna be all day on Thursday. On Friday, we're gonna come back and we'll start with 15-minute check-in. Then we'll go into the demonstrations. for most of the day. At the end of the day, Anson, I hope you'll be there because I have you on the agenda to talk about folks that do want to do training for Tyson specific classes. We call those Tyson DART classes. And that's going to be a webinar that's going to be on Friday, January 27th. Anson will talk to us and everyone. And then at the very, very end of the day, we're going to say to our out-of-state folks, you get a freebie, you get to leave early because we need our Texas folks that will train for TCOL to stay around and find out about the process, the paperwork, things like that at the end of the day on Friday. So that's what everything's going to look like. So if you are from out of state, you probably will be out by 4 on Friday. If earlier, great, but we can say definitely by 4. I don't know what your flights are. Okay. I can go to the next slide. We're going to start now about how to use the trainer guide. And you guys all should have gotten a copy of it electronically, at least, that you have up. We are going to go through and I'm going to tell you right now, I think I'll do it right now. I'm going to give you an outline of this PowerPoint. It has a lot of information that I think might be easier to follow than the guide if you're doing in person or online. So let me go to the chat and I'm going to pull that and you can download it. If you go to the chat, if you've never done this, you go to the chat and you'll see once I get it up there, you'll see, how should I call it? A little icon that looks like a file. I've just sent it and you should see it. It's an Adobe Acrobat PDF. If you click on it, you can download it to your computer. You don't have to follow it today. If you want to, you can, but it's kind of text heavy. We don't want to read our slides because it is text heavy, but I think it's got details that you will need to know once you start a training. Especially if you haven't done it before. Okay. I'm going to go to the next slide then. Okay, the first big question on this one, is it in person or online? Okay, in person or online. The reason I say that is because we designed this as an online training because we had people from all over and it was 3 2-hour sessions across 3 Fridays. And it can definitely be split up like that and be online, or it can be split up and be in person. So are you doing it online or in person? Are you doing it a full day? We do not recommend ever full day training online if you can avoid it, though I have done Best Plus trainings and they go pretty well. They're very active. I see somebody. Alicia's here. Guys, Alicia's just coming in and she is a teacher who did the pilot in Houston with Maxine. So we also want to know how you're going to split it. Now we have it split out as 3 2-hour sessions. You could do 3 2-hour sessions. You could do 3 2-hour sessions. You would just have to do the pacing a little bit differently. So once you get that logistics, you go on and you know what you're going to be doing. So let's go on to the next slide. We have the trainer guide is set up before the workshop and after the workshop, but we're kind of doing it. Let's say, what if you're before the workshop? What do you need to think about in-person training? So next slide. We do have during the workshop too, facilitating it and using the slide notes. Thank you. We have it divided into 3 sections. Okay, so for materials, you really got to know this stuff at the beginning. So who's making the copy? Who's putting the materials together? It doesn't have to be, but we recommend folders with all the participant handouts, cardstock paper, and markers for name tents. If you're having an, in person, I need them personally because my eyes are bad. The little tiny badges people wear, can't see them from 50 feet or 20 feet or even 5 feet away. So you need to know also who is going to provide the DART curriculum. And because it's so much paper, you probably will have a lot of programs that want it to be viewed digitally rather than physical, which brings in a whole nother factor of technology to the workshop. Okay. So those are some things to think about materials. You got to coordinate that. Next slide. Now, technology, the presenter setup. This is where I probably had the most, not issues, but challenges and things like that. When you go to a place you've never been before, you don't know for sure how they're set up for you to deliver training. Local program computers, I've been places where nobody knew the login to get in, okay? I've been places where they had it where you were blocked from putting a USB port in to transfer your files to the local computer. Not too common, but it can happen. Sound systems. Don't show up to a place and find out that there's no speakers. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. We just need to be there, and you don't want to be traveling with huge speakers. So you definitely want to make sure that they have that. And also, is there technical support? You know, who's going to be there? And if it's not technical support, at least is it somebody who uses the computer, like a teacher, and you're in their classroom and they know how to run their computer, you know, something like that. So a lot of times people do like to use their own computers, but doing that has another set of challenges. So a lot of times, the last time I went down, I kind of wanted to use my own computer and I forgot my adapter, because where I went, they had the monitors that didn't have HDMI. They were old. So I did not have an adapter to go into VGA. What's Glenda going to say?
I had the opposite. I have a new computer and it does not have USB, HDMI, or VGA. It has USB-C, and you have to take a little plug-in to go with it if you're going to attach anything else to it. So definitely make sure you know what ports are available on your device and what they're needing you to connect to.
Right. There's so many options nowadays and so many options on the monitors. Also, once in a while, you might have issues with audio adapters. Usually I've seen USB audio, but I know the tablets that we're using now at Tyson use the old headphone jacks, which is real different than what I'm actually used to, even though it's a tablet. So you really need to know, if you want to use your own equipment, you have to know what is there, what you have to plug into, and if you have the adapters. Also, you've got to connect to the internet. And it's not as easy. In the old days, you'd find if it was hardwired with an Ethernet cable, you'd pull it out and stick it into your machine. Well, most tablets or computers and laptops, they don't even have an Ethernet jack anymore. You have to get wireless. And even if they are hardwired and you put it in, a lot of organizations will block your device from their network because of security. It's not so open anymore. So if you use wireless, you might be having, you might need to join into a guest wireless, not into a wireless with username and password. So a lot of times I don't really plan on using my own device unless I'm very aware of where I'm going, because it just has a lot of things you have to think about to getting to the internet and getting your device plugged into their system. Participant devices, well, you know, if we're using their local program devices and participants show up, do they know how to log in? Is it like student computers that have one login, or is it teacher computers that the teachers have their own username and login that they authenticate with? What if you have people that are not from the local program who were asked to join to visit and they don't have a login? That can happen, okay? We also want to know how their devices are connecting to the internet. Are they going to automatically connect? Is it going to be guest Wi-Fi? You know, I've been to too many workshops. I don't know about you, Glenda, probably all of you, where people say there's going to be internet and nobody can connect. The teachers can't connect. Nobody can connect to the internet. So we've got to make sure beforehand, you really, we're not internet heavy, but it's a technology bucket. I like that. I love that idea.
And to pull this in, there was one place where I went to go to present, and I had my presentation, all my materials on a USB drive, and that organization did not allow you to use outside USB. And so I had it also saved on Google Drive, and guess what? They didn't allow you to attach to anything Google to their computers on their devices. So I literally had to email it to myself from my phone to be able to use it. So always be thinking a worst case scenario, how am I going to get this content if I'm logging into their equipment?
Right. And be careful, because if this is another issue that I always have in one place that's on the border, the place they get you there, they want to do cell phones in the classroom. And you go down there and not one person can log in to cellular because it's on the border and nobody has cellular service in that building. So, that was really interesting. And then I had to use USB because I couldn't get into my Gmail because Gmail requires you in a new location to get a phone text. And if you can't get service, you can't get the text. So yeah, Elizabeth, and I wasn't actually at your border town, but anyhow, it's really an issue some places. So yeah, get up early, have lots of backups in place, a lot of backups, because you never know what's going to happen. And then of course, on your, the person, if the participant's bringing their own devices, unless, they can use, sometimes they use cellular and use a hotspot, but not all people have hotspots. There could be local Wi-Fi. If they're teachers, they should know, they should be able to authenticate if they've used their personal computers before on their work network. Sometimes that is not easy to do. It takes time. So we really need to be sure if the best bet is to preload the curriculum on the computers from a local program and not depend on the internet, to be honest, for the participants. That's what I would ask for if I were a presenter, unless I knew the place, okay? Now, all devices, okay, you've got the issue now of electrical outlets. Not all rooms are equipped to have, 15, 20 people plugging and charging at the same time. So that is another issue that you have to deal with. Do we need power strips? Do we need extension cords? Who's going to get them? Who's going to put them up? It should not be your responsibility as a trainer to buy them. You might end up on the floor helping tape them down. I've done that many, many times, okay, to make them safe. But that's something to think about too. If it's going to be, if the participants are using technology. Okay. Room configuration. Okay. So, the room, sometimes you can change it and sometimes you can't. Don't change furniture without asking if you can do it. Depending on where you're going, elementary schools are really strict. You don't change their furniture, okay? High schools, it doesn't really matter. Colleges usually could care less, but you need to find out, okay? Don't do that. And also I was telling, even when, you need to take a picture of the room before you move it so you can move it back. Now, it could be you're somewhere where somebody will go in and say, hey, we'll set the room out. How do you want it? And they'll put it back. But you need you never know where you're going to be. If you're using a person's room and you're taking over their space, you have to be really cognizant of that. So just keep these things in mind. Take a picture of that room beforehand so you know how to put it back. Whiteboards, whiteboards are just, we teach with whiteboards. I teach with whiteboards. Document cameras are fantastic, but I'm not that used to using them and they're upside down and I really prefer to use a whiteboard. You can have a doc cam with you. Some people like Glenda is an expert with doc cams and travels with them, and they're tiny and they're inexpensive. So that's probably something that a trainer might want to just pick up for $100 and start using in case they don't have those nice whiteboards. Yeah. The chart paper if you don't have a whiteboard, or even if you do, is there going to be any flip chart paper? The kind that I love and everyone loves is the expensive kind that self-sticks to the wall. Not everyone has that. And if it doesn't self-stick, do you need to bring masking tape? Are you allowed to tape on the walls? Okay, lots of kind of things like that. Will they have markers there, dry erase markers? Honestly, as a trainer, I usually take them myself because even if they're there, half the time they don't work, right? So be prepared to take some stuff with you if you really want it to work the way you want it to. Okay. Oh, I love that dry erase cling. I love that. I don't have any of those. Look at Glenda, dry erase cling sheets. Okay. I have to tell a quick story. Glenda used to she made whiteboards with paint, chalkboards and whiteboards with paint in her classroom to get more space to teach. You can just do so much. Okay, let's see. I think I might be at the end of mine of room configuration. Let me see if it's Glenda's turn.
I can take over from this part. Yes. So now we're going to talk about the same thing before the workshop, but we're talking about if you're delivering this as an online experience. So what do we need to do then? First of all, before the day of your workshop, you need to be clear, especially if you're working with a local program, who is going to provide the handouts to the participants and how are they going to provide those handouts. So some organizations, because this is a rather large curriculum, will prefer to have it delivered digitally. That's fine. Some of them will prefer to have it on paper, and that's fine. But you do want to make sure that you're clear with whomever you are organizing, that they're going to have those materials on the day of the workshop. So make sure that that's clear. Who's responsible for what as far as getting those materials to the participants. And then also, in addition to the workshop handouts, you have the full curriculum, which is also very large. So again, same thing, just who is going to be responsible for that. And then I would always suggest always have in your back pocket, but all of these things digitally, because you are going to be presenting online anyway, but also in a format that you can quickly share with participants if someone didn't get the email, didn't get the handout, so that they can have a copy on that day. Use painter's tape all for the wall work. Yeah, I used to, she's talking about my classroom. I painted the cabinet doors and the closet doors so that I would have a little more white space room. Okay, so let's talk about technology. If you are doing this as an online workshop, one thing to think about is, have you successfully hosted a virtual meeting on that platform? So if you're not having the choice of platform and the organization is telling you what you're going to use, you will need to make sure that you have some experience with it, even if it's just a practice meeting that you do with friends or family or colleagues, because you don't want to be fumbling around too much. I don't really worry about it too much. If something happens during the webinar that I can just say, oops, let me figure out where this is. I think that's an example of digital resilience, and it's a good opportunity to show that even the experts can have trouble with technology from time to time. So don't get flustered if something happens, but do practice with whatever online platform you're going to be using. So for example, I use Zoom a lot. I used to use WebEx exclusively, and Teams I'm not as strong with because I don't use it as much. I certainly don't use it for teaching the way I did with WebEx and I do with Zoom. So also for you as the presenter, make sure that you have an environment set up for yourself that will work for comfortably presenting, especially if you're doing multiple hours at a time. One of the most important things I think is to have reliable internet. When at all possible, use a hardwired connection. So when I'm doing webinars, I do them from my house. This computer is hardwired. I specifically made them come out and hardwire it. If you don't have the option to hardwire, then you want to get as close to your router as possible to strengthen that signal to your device to make sure. I also, it's not in our notes here, but I always have two screens because I have the Zoom on one screen and the presentation on another. That way I can keep my Zoom people off of my presentation screen and keep up with what's going on in the chat, as well as keep up with the presentation. So that's just, not a requirement, it's just a tip if you're going to do a lot of presenting online. And then adequate lighting. So this little light that I have on here, this is like a $10 light from Amazon, but you can make the lights darker or brighter or bluer or not so blue. And I don't even know where I was originally, so I hope it looks okay. But they're just little clip-ons, and they just help light up a little bit so that you don't look so dark. You can remember that if you're using a virtual background, anything you hold up, if I hold up something, it kind of disappears into ghost world. So if you are going to be sharing things that you're not using the document camera for, then you're going to want to turn the virtual background off so that people can actually share what you're see what you're sharing. And then it's a good idea to have a good quality microphone. The microphones that are on most devices are not good, and that includes your video cameras. A good microphone can run about $100. If that's what you have, then you use it. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll connect to my phone instead of to the computer audio. That gives a little bit better audio because my headset from my phone is better than my headset, my camera microphone. But I actually use a Yeti microphone for most of the presentations that I do. And that also know how to adjust your sound settings in Zoom. You can reduce the background noise. So you haven't heard my dogs barking yet. You might hear them faintly later, but I have it set so that Zoom will filter out to a large degree all of the background noise downstairs with the dogs if they go crazy or something like that. So you want to make sure that. I actually also have a green screen behind me just because there's other people in the house to kind of create a wall and privacy protection between me and whoever's on the screen with me. Any questions about the facilitator technology I can answer at this point? And whatever technology you're using, practice with it.
Yeah, Glenda, I just wanted to say some people may not know if on their phone they have a hotspot or not. It's not your first choice ever to use your phone's hotspot, but some people do have that. And in an emergency, if your internet does go down, you may still get cellular and can use your hotspot. So some people have it in their phone plans and they don't even know it. So check it out if you have that.
Yeah, and it's in your settings. And I actually had to call, I have consumer cellular. I had to call and have it turned on because I was traveling to my mom's house and she doesn't have internet and I needed to be on my computer. So I needed to use a hotspot. So I had to change plans and be able to use the hotspot. So that's a really good tip too. If you're traveling and trying to do that, that may be an option also. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to keep going. Let's talk about thinking of before your day of presentation, what kind of technology your participants are going to be joining with. One thing you might want to do is survey your participants ahead of time and make sure you know what kind of tech skills you're working with. Have they been, I know it sounds crazy, but have they been on a Zoom meeting? Not everybody has. I have not a lot of friends, but I'd say probably about 10 to 15% who've never been on Zoom. They've been on Teams, they've been on WebEx, they've been on Google Meets, but they've never been on Zoom. So finding out what technology they're comfortable with for an online presentation is very useful. And I know TCall does this. If you're not sure, providing before the day of presentation a little tech playground so you can do a tech check, make sure they know how to use the platform. That's not a bad idea. If you find from that survey that you have some people who might be challenged, you don't want them having to learn the technology and the content at the same time is the big thing there. And then also you might want to check with them about their internet connectivity. So I'm still adjuncting for Texas A&M. Is that a word, adjuncting? But anyway, some of the graduate students had to drive to the end of their driveways to connect to class because they just did not have stable internet in their houses. So just finding out, we can't assume that everybody has good connection at home because if they're in a rural area, or if they're just in a dead zone, then they may not have the internet capability. And then you need to come up with suggestions like maybe you need to drive to the end of your driveway to connect or something like that. Or maybe this isn't the best outlet for you. Maybe you need to wait for a face-to-face workshop to do that. And then asking the participants to make sure that there's going to be minimal noise in their background because this is an interactive workshop. It's not just you talking the whole time, thank God. And you want to make sure that they are not having distracting things going on in the background that's going to disrupt the flow of what you're doing.
Linda, I would add that I know we started this many years ago. Those of you who remember Stan Ashlock, he would do, a lot of people didn't have really good internet back then and they were rural, but he would provide a room where we would physically be in a space to do it and people could come there, an audience that was in a room at a program, but we'd have some people who were joining remotely. So the local program, that's something that maybe that they could do is provide a space where it's a good connection for those who don't feel that they have a good connection.
Yeah, we did a lot of that during the pandemic, having students come to our Bastrop Learning Center at Community Action to attend their online classes. So virtual room configuration, does the platform, most of them do, but does the platform you are going to use provide breakout rooms and screen sharing, not only for you, but also for the participants? And in the virtual breakout room, will that screen sharing also be available? So that's something just to find out, make sure that you know ahead of time. And then also find out if you're not doing this from your own platform, but you're using somebody else's, what time can you enter the room? I like to enter at least 30 minutes ahead of time. I want to do my tech check. I want to make sure everything pulls up the way it's supposed to, that, you know, everything looks good on the screen and it's the most positive experience possible for the people attending on the other end. Also finding out if I can configure those breakout rooms. Can I be made a co-host? Am I completely dependent on somebody else to drive the PowerPoint? Am I going to be able to drive the PowerPoint? So who's clicking the slides essentially? All of those things help if you can come in ahead of time to find those things out. And then the last piece of this I want to talk about is getting the tech support you need, having those numbers, that information available to you before the day of the workshop itself. So is there going to be somebody there who's going to be a co-host or a moderator who's going to be able to let people into the room, keep attendance, let you know if something's in chat, especially if you're using one screen. If you're using one screen, it's really hard to follow the chat when you're presenting. So that kind of thing, find out who that person is, what their phone number is, email is, so that you can get a hold of them the day of if something falls apart, because things do sometimes fall apart. And then also during the workshop, who's going to be your assistant? Is it going to be that moderator, or do you have a tech support number that you need to call? I do want to put a plug in here. I know Michelle and Ashley have presented themselves, but the Distance Education BD call center, and there's the phone number, and this is for the Texas folks. Sorry, those of you who aren't in Texas. I'm not sure how they would know, but anyway, they will help your students and your staff if they run into tech problems. Especially, I don't have time when I'm teaching or facilitating a workshop to help somebody who is finding it challenging to navigate themselves on Zoom. Then I refer them to the call center, let this call center people help them figure out what's going on, so that I can continue working. And, you know, because if I take 30 minutes with one person trying to get them up to speed, that's 30 minutes I don't have that's actually scheduled in the presentation, and I'm going to have to figure out how to make that up. Plus everybody else is annoyed. So I don't want to start off a workshop or in the middle of a workshop annoying the other participants trying to help one person. So, oh, and she says they ask if you're in Texas. So sorry. And then who's going to, again, monitor all of the things that are going on during the workshop so that you're not having to do quite as much multitasking when you're presenting. Any questions, comments on that section? Anything for in-person or virtual for the before the day of the workshop? All right, then I'm going to let Denise keep going.
Okay, well, now we're the day of the workshop. Usually it's in the morning, but not all the time. So this is when we're in person and it's the day of the workshop. What do we really need to think about? Well, do come early. The first thing, this is kind of the order that really works the best. Get there, power on everything, this technology, and connect everything up, because technology is not working. It's harder to have the workshop. And check your internet connectivity if you're going to be using internet at all. You need to access your training materials and the DART curriculum. Now, that depends. I don't know how you have to know ahead of time. How are you planning to access it? Were you going to transfer it to a local program computer on a USB? Are you going to download it from the internet? Remember, you might need to have cell phone connectivity if you're using Google. I think Dropbox does not require, no, Dropbox requires an email to you that you have to click on. So it's the same thing. You need your connectivity. So get your materials up and running. Open up that PowerPoint, check how it looks on the LCD projector that you've already turned on. It's warmed up. Play the video. If you have any video, play it and adjust the volume, or sound. Maybe you have a sound file or video, because you don't want it blasting loud. And sometimes if it's not loud enough, then you got to start it. Just check that. And then check any of these internet links, because, you know, sometimes links change on you. The internet's working, but a link changed, and you might have time to go, yeah, you might have time to go find where it's at now. A lot of times it just changes within the site and you could find it elsewhere. I just got a comment, you know, also remember there could be, depending where you are, construction on the route, there could be lots of things that delay you. So do kind of know, try to, oh my goodness, 3 times longer, says Michelle. That's bad. I've never had that happen. That's a really bad one. So try to arrive pretty early, especially if it's somewhere you're not used to driving, because you are it. You are the trainer. You're the one that they're expecting to be there. Any other?
Was thinking when you said that if you are going out of town to present and it's in an early morning, you probably want to go the night before. I have left at 4 o'clock to present in Dallas that morning, but if you run into any construction or any issues with your car, anything, you're going to be late. So if you are able to go ahead the night before, then do. But then again, if you're traveling and it's going to be the afternoon, you still don't know if that construction is going to cause you an issue. And sometimes Google doesn't let you know because it happens at the last minute. So that's very good advice. And thanks for sharing that, Michelle.
I think driving, if you can, is better than flying, because twice I've made it places, but other people didn't because of, you know, flight delays and things like that. So if it's drivable, it's a little safer, I guess, than depending on flights. Thinking about the room, well, remember, we talked already, are you going to be responsible for those power strips? If you are, you need to know when you can get in that room, because it takes a while to put those down. You need to tape them and you need to secure the power strips. A lot of times you can buy these, I don't know, use them in computer stuff. They're like, I don't know what you call them, but they're not twisties. They're a lot more secure than twisties. That's what I use. They're usually black. So that's all I can tell you what they're called, but they can be, they can help things so they're not going to fall, get on someone's foot, someone's going to trip over it, things like that. One thing you want to look in the room, some rooms are really funky. They might have columns like in the middle where they have support. Make sure that where you're placing people, where you want people to sit, people can see the display. If you're allowed to, change the furniture so it is better. Take that picture if you need to. And you want to see where is the best place for you to have a sign-in sheet. You want the sign-in sheet not right next to you and not right where it's going to be in the way of everyone. You also, the sign-in bottleneck. You might, so people can spread out and maybe form a little line if they need to. You also want to think about where do you want your participants to sit. Now, this is up to you. Not everyone does it the same way, but Glenda and I, we like to go ahead and have a folder of everything and place it where we want participants to sit, because that way everyone doesn't go in and sit, and they don't sit on the back row. Now, some people go and take the handout from where you put it and go sit on the back row. Okay, but you know, you get less people sitting on the back row when you go ahead and you put the handouts where you want to, where you prefer them to sit. Okay. Anybody other tips for the room? I don't know. I didn't check the chat.
You know, I was just thinking also find out ahead of time who is in control of the thermostat.
I was just going to say that. You get to a certain age and that becomes really important.
Yeah, that's true. And if it can be moved or not. You know, I don't do it as much with adults, but I know when I would teach in high school, the kids would get cold and I would be hot because I'm walking around. I always kept a couple of extra sweaters. This is not during COVID, but I would always say, hey, if you're that cold, you can put this on, you know, and they will. So some people might, you know, accept an offer of a sweater or something like that if they're freezing, because it's not, if people are too hot or too cold, it's very hard to learn if you're uncomfortable. Oh, parking at night, that's a good one. Oh, wow, Dollar Tree. So we have really good notes. Y'all read your chat because we have a lot of participation. A lot of you, well, probably everybody in this room has trained a lot. So you've had all of this happen. On the materials, you're going to put those sign-in sheets up and put some extra pens out and expect that you will lose some of those pens, okay? They don't always make it through the workshop. People don't take them on purpose. It's just normal people pick them up.
And it's amazing to me how many adult educators will come to a workshop without a notebook or pen. Just amazes me.
Yeah. You expect sometimes students, but it's like you're going to class and you don't have paper and a pen. Okay. We already talked about getting those folders. The card stock, you know, you don't have to use. I like them. I love the big name tents. So I can see people's names. That is not going to make or break your workshop. You might have, if you memorize people's names quickly, that is fantastic. Or you may not know the people if it's people you've worked with. But that's important for me. Markers, I don't always supply one marker for every single person, maybe one per every 2 people. But one thing is important that I've noticed, there's certain colors that I can't read far away. I cannot read red for some reason when it's far away on a board or on a mark. So and you know, some people come in and try to use their little pen or pencil. I'm like, oh no, please use this big black marker here. You know, because I need to see, I wanted to be able to see, and I like them to do it on both sides so I can see both sides. You got those dry erase markers, you got erasers with charts, just like that. You guys do it all the time if you've taught or trained. And then things, you know, in front of you that you can get to. If you want a physical copy of that DART curriculum, even if the participants are using laptops to get it, you want your physical copy as well. You want a folder of all the participant handouts. So when you're telling them to find something, you can pick it up and say, hey, here's this handout. It looks like this. It helps people find things quickly. So, okay. Oh, we're back to the online.
Or show it on your document camera. Yes.
Yes, that works great. If you're really good, I've got to like practice. Got to do that every day.
My little $99 document camera is in my bag. My expensive one stays here, but my 99 one is in my travel bag just for that. Materials. Will the program be responsible for materials, or the presenter, or the DART program? So that is the question. That's the $100 question right there, Tiffany. And you need to clarify that with the organization that contracts with you to provide the materials. If TCAL contracts you, more than likely they are going to send the materials out. But if a local program does, then you need to figure out who's going to be responsible. Because if you're responsible, you're going to want to include that in your estimate for costs, right? So definitely want to make sure you cover all of that before you sign on the dotted line. Any other questions, comments before we go on? Okay, so let's talk about the day of with the technology. So of course, try to ensure that your device is plugged into an electrical outlet. Now, the old batteries, if you left them plugged in, it would kill the battery. So some people still have that mindset, and so they will, or they would catch on fire, Samsung. So they will still leave their devices unplugged. That's fine as long as the plug is right there next to you. And when you get that low battery alert, you can plug it in quickly without much disruption to your facilitation time. And Anson said, as far as the cost, Tyson trainers, they will be talking to you about types of costs. So that's great. Also ensure that your lighting is adequate, not only that they can see you, but that you can see your, I'm going to turn off my camera, my background for just a second. Let's see, go right here. See my green screen? But also so you can see, so your lighting is so that you can see your copy of the handouts in front of you. And I really strongly recommend that even though you're doing this virtually, that you put those handouts right in front of you where you can see them. Let's go to France. That sounds good. I don't want to spend a lot of time looking for my background. And then also ensure your internet connection is working well, because internet goes down. I'm sure that's never happened to you in the middle of a presentation, but it has happened to me, especially at my office. For some reason, I won't say which carrier, but my house has one carrier and my office has another, and the office goes down about 25% more often than the house does. So that's another reason why I present here. And then just make sure before you have to get on that your internet is working. You may want to restart your device. If you're like me and you don't restart your desktop very often, you might want to restart it because things get caught up in the line. You may even want to consider things like if your internet's acting a little wonky. This is something that I learned from one of the internet network guys. You might want to unplug all of the little cables and plug them back in because they get static in the line and it slows your line down. I didn't know that. There you go. And that did make a huge difference one day when I was having a problem. So I just unplugged the little cable and plugged it back in, and it's all of a sudden it worked. And then also check your audio and video. So of course you need somebody on the other end to tell you, yes, you look good. Yay, I look good, right? And then you also need somebody on the other end to say you sound good. Yay, I sound good, right? And then I always have my phone charged. It's on my little charger right next to me and ready to go in case I do get kicked off. I've already made somebody a co-host, by the way. In every meeting I go, if I am in charge, I make somebody a co-host, because I have been in meetings where I was the only host. I got kicked off and the room closed. So I always try to make somebody a co-host, even if it's a student. This is if I'm teaching regular students, regular classes, not even workshops, That way, if the room closes, if I get kicked out, the room doesn't close and I can get back in and claim host code, which you would have to know what the host code is on Zoom if you're using Zoom to get that. But okay. And then also, most of these platforms will let you switch from the computer audio to your phone audio. And especially if you're having a weak connection, your internet is unstable, you're going to want to do that because that's going to save you a lot of bandwidth if it's not also turn your camera off unless they need to see you, and then use the phone for audio. That's going to save you a lot of bandwidth and it's going to make your internet connection more stable. Any other tips out there from people who present a lot online? Close your tabs. Keep only the tabs open that you need. That's a good one, Rachel.
That's a really good one because Google just takes a lot of your memory, and the more memory you have freer, it affects your internet speed. And Glenda, I was just going to say, rebooting your computer is a great idea because that frees up the memory that might have temporary cache and stuff. So that's I hadn't thought of that, but that's a really good idea.
And then also, if you use Chrome and you have a lot of those extensions on there, I use Extensity so I can turn those off. Because they do actually use, if you look in your task manager, they use a lot of memory. So turn those off if you're having troubles. And Extensity is an app where you can do that quickly. You can turn all of your extensions on and off in a click. Anything else is good tips? That's a good tip. Disconnect other devices from your Wi-Fi at home if you're using Wi-Fi. Of course, my suggestion is don't use Wi-Fi if you're presenting. If you're on the other end, that's fine. But if you're the presenter, try to hardwire if at all possible. And prioritize your device. Yes. Okay. Great tips. If you think of any others, throw them in there. Extensity, exactly like that, Janine. Yeah. That's a whole other presentation, but that is a great little tool to use. So I don't want I have a lot of extensions that I use when I'm teaching, but I don't want them running all the time. So I turn them off unless I'm using them. All right, materials check. So this is the day of presentation for your online. You want to make sure that you can quickly go between all of your digital versions. So if I were to show you, what's on my computer that's open right now, that little trick that I showed you guys the other day, I'm going to share this screen over here. And so these are what are open on my computer. The most important thing, can you guys see what's open or does it hide it from you? Oh, you can see it. Okay, thanks, Anson. All right, so what's most important here is I have the folder that has all of our materials ready to go. I also have the trainer guide for later ready to go, and I can get to them quickly. And there's nothing else really open except for the Zoom items. Let me get back to sharing the right screen. We'll go share back this one and get comfortable sharing between screens and doing those new shares without having to stop share, reshare. It makes it a lot faster. Having said that, my notes went away. Okay, here we go. All right. Zoom presenter bar. You should not be able to see my Zoom presenter bar, but I was showing the whole desktop so you could see how to do that. Anybody remember how to show the whole desktop? Okay, everything that's open on your computer to get back and forth from Zoom or whatever you've got open, whether it's Teams or Zoom or WebEx. If you get lost because you're presenting, what is the magic key to get back? There's 2 sets of magic keys you need to know.
Control tab, right? Is that what?
Control tab. What does control tab do?
Something about tab. There's some tab thing that does something.
Okay, Alt tab will screen through them, but I think it's Windows tab. Thank you, Michelle. Windows tab will show you everything that's open, so you can click on the window you want. And then the other one, if you're on Zoom especially, is Control Alt Shift, which brings up your controls no matter where you are on your computer. So if I'm looking at the wrong thing and I've lost Zoom, Control Alt Shift will bring up my Zoom controls. Can't help you with Teams, just letting you know.
Thank you. I did not know that, and I love that.
Okay, so that's making sure that was just the whole point of that demonstration was to show you I have everything that Denise and I are planning to use is open, and I can get very quickly between those different items and just make sure that those are available and ready to go. I also have my printed guide. I showed you already that I have it printed out in front of me. That's just you know, I'm a digital person. Anybody in this room who knows me knows that. But when I'm presenting, I want paper in front of me so I can take notes if I need to. Remember, people said something and I don't want to interrupt them, but I want to get back to it. Or if I have a thought, ooh, I need to do this the next time I present, I want to be able to mark it on my notes. And just in general, it's just a good idea to have it right in front of you with your presenter notes in case something happens, especially if you're using one screen. Because if you're using one screen, you don't get to use presenter mode with your notes on it. It's fine, Tiffany. Okay. Then also make sure that you can monitor the time, that you know what your time is. Of course, the easiest thing if you're presenting is just to bring your cursor to the bottom and let your taskbar show up. And then you can see the time. And then you may also want your water, your drink, your sweater. Now, I love that Denise added your phone for emails, texts, or calls about the workshop, but I actually put mine on airplane mode unless I need it, because I get way too many texts, phone calls, emails, because I'm the director of an adult education program. So there's always somebody who's trying to reach out to me. So during these presentations, I just go ahead and put it on airplane mode or put it on silence so I'm not distracted while I'm presenting. I wish I could say I did that when I'm a participant, but I would be lying. But when I'm presenting, it's on airplane mode. Yeah, my watch is off, Tiffany. My watch is on its charger. Yeah, good point. If you have a smartwatch that buzzes, because the tendency is to look at that watch, my watch comes off. Yes.
Oh no, Tracy, water. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I actually try to keep mine as far away from my keyboard and everything as possible on the nice little coaster that Amy gave me, Tracy, by the way. All right, and then virtual room check beforehand, and can you do the breakout rooms and the screen sharing? Will everything work in the room the way that you did during your practice run? And we've already talked about most of this, so I'm just going to go to the last question. What time can you get in? And if you are more experienced, you may be able to wing it coming in 15 minutes early. I still think 30 minutes is the minimum for me. I want to make sure I can go through everything and I am comfortable. I'm not stressed when I get ready to start, because it's that teacher thing. If I'm stressed, my participants are going to be stressed. If I'm stressed as a teacher, my students are stressed. So trying to make sure I'm as relaxed as possible before I get started. A couple of virtual room tips. Again, 30 minutes, I think, is the minimum. Check your audio, video quality, and screen sharing quality. Check your video quality if you're going to share a video. Make sure you know how to share audio if you're sharing a video or something that has audio with it, because there are different ways to do that on different platforms. Maxine says, again, about the capped water, and then do a dry run the day before. Absolutely, especially I like to do it with somebody. And I know Jan is also a trainer for TCAL. She likes to actually just jump on Zoom as if she has an audience and run through it just so she can practice. No matter, and she's a very experienced trainer, but experienced trainers know we need to practice because we may have gotten a little bit rusty before we've done this presentation. Maybe it's been a while since we've done it. So we want to make sure it's as good as possible for the experience of the participants. Okay, so making sure that the screen sharing works in the breakout rooms. That means you're going to need a couple of people to go in with you early to make sure that works. And then I am not a fan of background music. Everybody's taste in music is different. But if you are going to do it, try to make it something that is not going to be offensive to somebody else and keep it as low as possible. And bring up your first slide to share. So that would be my presentation there. Okay. Any other questions or comments about the virtual room day of? Just before the workshop? Yeah, I know a lot of people do, Liz. I actually just turned my speakers off because I know a lot of people do. I do not. I love music. I'm a musician. It's just not something I enjoy doing because it always sounds tinny, like they're playing it off their phone or something. They very rarely play it from the device. So that's a personal preference thing. I don't have a pony in that race. All right, well, going on. Do you guys, we've been going for about an hour, looking at my nice little thing, an hour and 10 minutes. Do we need to like stand up and take a 5-minute break before we go into this part? I know we don't have a lot of time, Denise, but I think we probably could use one.
I'm fine. Yeah, it's been a lot. Let's not make it any more than 5 though. Yeah. I
Okay,
know.
so I'm
I love Anson's music. He knows that. Yeah. It's like, whoa, whoa. Okay, well, let's take a real quickie then and come back at 3:15 so we can get through this part and then do a couple of trainer tips. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna put on the 5-minute
Your timer. Thank you.
timer here on the screen. I will not play music.
Okay, I'm going to turn off my
And-
video and my audio. Be back soon.
Timer.
You.
And I'm gonna go 5 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start. And I'll just pull that over here.
What instrument do you play, Glenda? Can't hear you. You turned your sound off.
Thank you. My main instrument is keyboard and piano, but I also play guitar and clarinet and a couple other things.
Wow, that's cool. I wish I knew an instrument.
Are we supposed to be hearing your music or is that just a clock? It's just a clock. Okay, got it. I got it. I got it, Glenda.
Hi, Glenda.
I am so surprised my dog didn't bark at the ding dong sound. Okay, so now we're going to go over pacing guide and slide notes, and Denise is up.
Hello.
Yeah,
Well,
do you want to share, Denise? That's fine.
Yeah, well, I thought maybe I'll just show, but so I'm going to go ahead and show the pacing guide.
Okay, I'm going to stop and let you share.
Okay, I have it up here on my computer here. I'm on the wrong page though. I'm on the do's and don'ts, but let's go through. As you go into our trainer guide, there is a table of contents at the very front. Sorry, close your eyes because I'm scrolling pretty fast here. But I do think if you look at the trainer guide, you see there's a real clear table of contents. It's very detailed, so you can quickly find what you need. During the training, what you really need, you've already prepared, you've practiced, right? And you have your pacing guide and you have your slide notes. And these are the two things that you will use the most during the training. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you that there's 3 sessions and there's 3 pacing guides here. As you can look at this, there's session 1 is introducing the DART curriculum, and it's kind of chunked. It's chunked because it doesn't always take the same time on every slide, as you know. But if you kind of can stick to this, it's a 2-hour timeline and you can get finished in the 2 hours. One other thing about this workshop, typically when we do 6-hour workshops, we have 2 15-minute breaks that we do plan for. So when Glenda and I did this, we actually have 6 full hours. And because of that, you really are going to have your training schedule a little bit different because you can't just flop 15 minutes off. Here, a page before, I have a little sample. If you're doing instead of a 9 to 4 workshop, you would want to do an 8:45 to 4:15. And that will still give you time to get in your breaks and an hour lunch. So that's a little bit different about this is it's 6 full hours of training. Okay. I'm not going to go too much more into the pacing guide. I just wanted to point it out to you. It's something that you need with you in front of you. And if you do practice this, go ahead and look at it. We will be practicing this on Friday, and this pacing guide hopefully will be very helpful. Each person is going to get about 15 minutes, but again, like you see this part right here, it's 17 minutes. Well, somebody's been assigned that. So I think I said, well, take off a minute from here and a minute off here. I mean, you know. So one thing that I did realize when I went back the last minute on session 3 pacing guide, it is an older pacing guide. So I have the actual updated pacing guide that we will have at the training on Thursday that you could replace and put the new minutes into there. So you'll have the new timeline for that. So just be aware of that I'll be bringing that to the training on Thursday. Do you have any questions about the pacing guide that I can answer? I'm going to check my chat. Nothing? Any questions? No. Okay, so I'm also, here's a question. No, not at this time. Thanks, Elizabeth. So the other thing that we were talking about is the slide notes. Well, you guys all know PowerPoints have slide notes and we script these. I'm just going to bring up, I guess I can bring up a sample PowerPoint to show you. This particular one that I have up right now is for this workshop and it's not scripted, but we can go to a different one. It'll be scripted so I can show it to you. Sorry, I didn't have that one up. And I'm blind. In here. So when we're actually when you get the session materials for the teachers, you will be getting the PowerPoint. The participants will be getting an outline of it, but you'll actually be getting the PowerPoint itself. And you'll also be getting a printed copy of the notes pages, and each notes page will show it'll kind of look like this. It will show you the PowerPoint, and it has a script below it. Now, we don't want you to memorize it word for word because, I mean, I don't think most people do that, but you need to become very familiar with it. And that means practicing it and going over it. Some of the things are going to be like introductions and agendas and objectives. Those don't take too much time. But let's say you get into some content, like when we're talking about the Tyson video review. Well, there's some information you may need to know on that slide, and you don't want to be reading it. Don't ever want to just read out loud the exact thing on the slide, or read from your notes, or look down and read from your notes. So you'll see as you go through, some slides have very little to look at, and some slides have a lot of notes to look at. We just want to encourage you to practice this. That's basically what you have to do, is practice. And you all, as I told you, you'll be doing demonstrations on Friday for 15 minutes. So you'll have plenty of time from the time we get out to the next day to practice that 15-minute section that you'll be assigned. But again, just don't memorize it, but become very familiar with it. You want me to go? Any questions on that, about these slide notes before I move on? I don't see a chat. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is do you have the, I don't have the, let's go back. I'm going to go back over to our PowerPoint, and we have this, we put this in because probably one of the most important things that we just kept talking about. You need to keep calm, you need to practice. So really, this is something you do before the workshop. I guess we should have put it earlier, Glenda, but we need to keep calm and practice. There we go. Glenda's going to start off this section. I'll talk about the first, but she'll talk to you about what we're going to, about the guide and how it has trainer tips in it.
So there are a lot of trainer tips in the guide. And if you've been on any of the other TCAL TOTs, you've read through most of these, I hope. I like to go back through them because I always see things that I have forgotten. So we're going to just talk a little bit about the trainer tips. And the first thing we want to do, though, if you've seen this before, just laugh at it again. We're going to show you a video of a training, very short, about 4 minutes, maybe cut it off a little sooner, I'll see. And I want you to think about everything that he's doing right. I'm going to pull him over here, and I'm going to do a new share with the audio. And here we go. Well,
33 of you here, we're just waiting on one more. We'll give him about 40-50 minutes or so before we get started. Folks, we're just going to breeze through this today. Hopefully we'll get out of here an hour or two early. And now that you're all comfortably seated, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the sign up sheet up front, so if everybody could come up here and sign in. Now for the PowerPoint, I'm going to be reading the PowerPoint to you, that I'm also showing you, that I have emailed to you and also printed out for you. And when you leave today, I'll be beaming it into the sky like some Hunger Games announcement for you. Now I got a really good video clip for you. I'm going to hit play. You guys just sit back and watch. I dropped the ball. I want to apologize. I thought 2 dozen donuts was enough to cover all 127 of us. Now the good news is you're going to get professional development points. You just got to fill out this 87-page paper for the 6 points that we'll award you in 4 to 12 years. Hey Steve, let's go ahead and keep trying. I think we need to get this thing working, even if we need to spend another 30 minutes. I apologize, everybody. It was working the first time. The first time when we tried it, it worked. Good morning, everybody. Man, I hate using microphones. You know, I just as soon use my inside voice if that's okay with everybody. Okay, we got We got the video. Don't look like there's no sound. Can you fix the sound? As a thank you, I did bring some snacks. It's half a bag of pretzels, what was left over from last PD. Extra salty. Water break in about 3 hours. Really? 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 Nobody brought their laptops? You mean to tell me nobody in here read the 35th line of the footnote of the 17th email that I sent? I find that hard to believe. Now for this slide, I have a little unrelated comic strip. Funny, am I right? Got a lot of mugs. Moving on. Hey, could you show some respect? We didn't spend your pay raises this year on recycled information so you could ignore it. Show some respect. Next up, we're going to do an activity. In the center of your tables, you may notice 47 markers, mostly the same color. You're not going to need those. You need a pen, which I did not provide. I want to give everybody some time to use the restroom, maybe make a few phone calls, grab a snack, grab a smoke, whatever you want. So we're going to reconvene here in, say, the next 2.5 minutes. Special thanks to David Hodge Retirement for providing the lunch for you guys today. In return, if you wouldn't mind putting your information on the little index card that's sitting in front of you, turn it into him. He's going to be calling you 17 times over the next 2 weeks to try to get all of your money. But good news is, at the end of this, we're going to go ahead and do a drawing for a $5 off Olive Garden coupon. Great, sound's on. Can you rewind it to the beginning so we can start in the beginning? Internet's down? Can't show the video no more? All right, listen, it was a really good video. I'll email it to you. Well, I do apologize for letting y'all out about 2 hours after I said I would, but I think we all agree we just need to get through that.
All right, I saw some people did find some things that he did well in the video.
Mhm.
I am so impressed.
I know that asset. I love that comment, Anson. Asset focused.
So some of the positives they found that he was facing his audience, at least as far as we could tell. I have been in presentations where they talked to the board. That can be a problem. There was one thing I really, as I get older and I do have a prosthesis in one of my ears for my hearing, that I really appreciated was if somebody hands you a microphone for a room, you are not loud enough. Use the microphone, because you may be loud enough for the 20-year-olds, but the 50, 60-year-olds in the room may not be able to hear you. So please use the microphone if it's handed to you. And somebody else said he spoke at a slower than usual conversation pace. I think he's probably from North Carolina, and no, I'm just kidding. I'm from Virginia, so I can say that. But there are different parts of the country where they just normally speak slower. But he could be doing it on purpose. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And asset focused, right? And anything else? He provided copies of the presentation. Yes. And then one of my favorite comments on here, he did send out emails ahead of time. What was the problem with the emails? Because I run into this a lot. Mainly is the the third line of the 5th paragraph of the 17th email or something like that. And I would be the participant that doesn't show up with my laptop because I'm never going to get past the first 3 lines. Just letting you know ahead of time. My attention will not go that long. So yeah, so if you're going to send out emails to your participants ahead of time, try to keep them short, because nowadays that's about our attention span. So those were just some of the do's and don'ts. Some of the other do's and don'ts are, and I'm going to turn it over to Denise. But she's got to come off mute.
So we've got, I'm off mute. So we've got do's and don'ts, and I'm gonna, this is we're going back to the trainer guide. So I'm gonna go ahead and share again. Okay, Linda? Okay, I'm screen sharing, but that's not what I have on my screen. Okay. Well, I'm going to use Glenda's trick. Let me do a new share because I actually didn't have my full. Okay.
I have it up, Denise, if you need me to share
Yeah,
it.
why don't I do that? I don't know why that came up instead of I had my Acrobat up. I was like, I don't want to see that. You have yours up now? Yeah, I'm still seeing the same thing on my screen, but I can see this. So we have, first of all, I want to tell you, I don't know if any of you know Irene Ramos. She actually put these trainer tips together, and they're really, really are very good. They're from a whole bunch of different resources. And I like reading through them because every time I go through, I say, oh, I'm good at that. And I always say, I always need to work on the other. So as you look at the do's and don'ts here, I'm not going to read through them, but I want you to go ahead and kind of read through them and think of things that you do well and things that you know you might need to work on. Right. On the recap, the end of each session, we do try to always build that into our presentations, but I know like in just a typical classroom, sometimes I run out of time at the end and I don't do a good recap. And it's so important to evaluate and self-reflect on what you learn. And so I know I have to work on that more all the time. So kind of look through that and tell me, is there something you think you do really well or that you always have to work on?
I will say I have an affirmation on my phone that I read every time before I present, and it says, I always speak calmly and clearly, because I tend to start rushing or thinking people have already heard me say this before, they don't really care, or they already know it. And so I start rushing or feeling uncomfortable. So I actually say that to myself before every presentation. I always speak calmly and clearly.
I like that. And of course, we saw a lot of the don'ts. I know y'all saw a lot of the don'ts about he didn't do these things. He didn't talk to the flip chart or the visual aids. He had good eye contact. Someone wrote that. He moved a bit. But, you know, one of the things that for me is reading from the curriculum drives me as a participant nuts. That's one of the big ones at me. Now, tip on here, don't shout at the participants. Now, that to me, I mean, maybe the person who wrote this was in the military and got shouted at, but I have actually never had a presenter shout at us, so which is good, but I've had them do some of the other ones. So these are just some basic do's and don'ts for you to just kind of read through.
There's a virtual one that for some reason lately has been annoying me when presenters, and you guys have not done this, so thank you so much. When presenters are online, they move their mouth all over really quickly because they're looking for stuff and it makes people dizzy.
Remember I did that and I told you, oh, please close
But you
your
caught
eyes.
it.
Oh no, I should
I mean,
have already
they
had
will,
that
especially in a
feature.
spreadsheet, they'll do it like,
Yeah, it can make you dizzy. That's really good, Maxine. It's something to think about in virtual. And I forever and always will not, I can't multitask that well. It's somehow in person, I can do it, but as virtual presenter, I'm always, I'm not that great. I know, I mean, I work on it, but I just so much prefer, I do it, of course, virtual presenting, but I prefer to be in person. I love to read body language. I love, you know, so I'm so glad we get to meet you in person on Thursday.
If you do have to, if you're doing virtual presentation and you do need to scroll, there is, at least in Zoom, there's a pause button. Hit the pause button and then scroll to where you want and then hit pause to restart again. You also can use this if you're teaching in a classroom and you got students working on something that you want to go look at something else while they're doing that. Pause, wonderful thing.
You know what?
So that's
Thank
great.
you. I just saw it. It says pause shared. I've never used it. So Glenn is master. And there's some folks over at TCall that are masters at virtual for sure.
So Glenda, can you repeat that pause share thing? Say that again.
So if you need to scroll, because some people
Yeah.
get literally motion sick if you scroll a lot on a page or on a document. I'll just give an example here. I'm going to pull over the screen and instead of letting you guys see me scroll, I'm going to pause my share. I'm going to go to the font and then I'm just going to resume share, and then all of a sudden, buzz-ah, I'm on another page.
Oh.
And you didn't get, motion sickness
Yes.
watching me scroll through the page.
Right. Tiffany, I'm very visual. I just needed to see what she was doing again because I'm very visual. So thanks, Glenda, for doing that again. I appreciate that. That helped a lot. I learned something
Absolutely.
new.
It's always fun when you learn something
It
new.
is, it
Okay.
is.
And I have lost my notes again, but that's okay. We'll keep going.
Oh, you're gonna go ahead. If we don't have any more on that, Glenda's gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about active listening.
I was going to have you guys do an activity, but I'm looking, got one eye on the time, and I don't think I'm going to have time to do this. So I'm going to assign it as a homework activity. So active listening is very difficult. It is actually something, if you ever take a counseling degree of any sort, they're going to try and have you do some of this. It takes a lot of work. And yeah, I notice I have the larger pointer to things, Anson. Yeah, I use the custom cursors for that. So what what active listening is, instead of formulating your response as you're processing what you're hearing, which is what most of us do, you repeat in your head like a parrot exactly what you hear when you're hearing it. I've done this with ESL students because it's also a good way for those intermediate students to make the jump to thinking in the second language, but it's extremely difficult. And I found with presentations, we can assume we know what the rest of the question is, and we're wrong. Has that happened to anybody besides me? So what we want to do as presenters, if somebody is asking a question, repeat the question as they're asking it in the same words they're using to ask the question. And then when they're done, then you can formulate your response. It's also a technique used between significant others to encourage active listening, to encourage actually hearing each other. So it's kind of a fun activity. And then, of course, active listening, if you're a presenter, you may want to say back, what I think you're asking is this, especially if the question was not clear. Sometimes people don't know enough to know how to word the question. So they're asking you something, but they have a general idea, but they're not exactly sure how to ask the question. So it's a good thing to do is to reword the question back and make sure that you understand it and then respond. So that is basically the essence of active listening. And I have experienced, and I'm sure some of you who have trained a lot, in the sessions where I have exercised active listening with participants, the response and the rapport that I develop with those participants is to the nth degree higher than when I'm just like, got to get through this content and I got to keep drilling forward. And I'm going to assume I know what your question is because I've heard this question 100 times. That doesn't work as well. So I just wanted to bring up the active listening as something to consider when you're presenting, especially online. I have a little bit better time online with my processing issues because there's no side talk, but when there's side talk, I can get very antsy, and it makes it really important for me to focus on the person who's speaking and make sure I understand that question. Here is something else we do not want you to do. So we have a couple of, we'll just do this in the chat. We have a couple of scenarios with dealing with difficult participants. Has everybody had an opportunity to deal with a difficult participant at one time, whether it was a student or in a training or otherwise? Anybody have a experience with a difficult participant? Okay.
Somebody that kind of hijacks the class and has comments that get off topic and go on for a long period of time.
Yes. Okay. So that is one of the scenarios. So let's talk about that one. So I have had them try to bridle me down into making statements for or against our state policies. I'm a trainer. I'm Switzerland. I don't get to be for or against anybody's policies. So what do you guys do when somebody is on that track with you? What do you, does anybody have a suggestion? Screaming is not the right response, Ashley. I'm sorry. You don't get to, remember the other one we just saw, you don't get to yell at your participants.
Hey, can I just jump in here because we're laughing pretty hard over here? When I at DLTI this year, this happened to me during our distance call center presentation, and we had what we didn't expect were all the vendors that showed up, and they were the ones mad at me because of the policies. So I had to kind of like stop everything and say, hey, guess what? I am just the messenger. I do not make these policies. I don't have that kind of power. So I know exactly what you're talking about. So I'd love to hear what everybody else has to say.
And sometimes it's political. Sometimes they just want to get into political discussions. I'm not getting into that either. Not my race. Be firm but respectful. Yeah. I have the most difficulty, Rachel, when it is someone who is much senior than me. So someone my parents' age. I am a good Southern girl. You just don't do that. And so I had to actually speak up and say to someone, I am so sorry, but we have got to stop here with this conversation because I have stuff that I'm required to share with you guys today, and we will not have time to finish if we keep going down this road. Anybody come up with anything better, let me know.
Well,
That's a good one. I also will just say, I always will start with thank you. Even if I'm interrupting them and be like, thank you. That is so great. But I just want to cover the rest of this and we can catch up on email or something. But like just with a thank you, I think people are less offended that you're interrupting them.
Yeah, I had somebody that was hard because it's like not it wasn't a senior, but it was a person who was like a priest or a rabbi or something. And he was kind of like taking over everything. And it's hard, like, and so I agreed to like, I kind of like, okay, well, let's catch up on email. Oh my gosh, I still get emails from him. But it was like, it can happen. Do you know what's really interesting? In your guide, if you look on your guide, I'm not sure, I'm on page, I think 21, the domination by highly verbal member. What they put as the effective response is that they say when one person is over participating, everyone else is under participating. So what they recommend in the guide is focus efforts to get the other participants to step up and speak out more instead of giving additional attention to the person that's trying to domineer, which is interesting. But I do agree sometimes you have to be more direct. But I like that's why I think this guide is really good, because it kind of like, it gives you other ways to see things. So
and setting your values and your expectations before you actually get into the situation where you have to make that call is always good. And then of course, Olga and Ashley were both saying at the beginning of the workshop, setting the expectation of what kind of interaction you're going to have. Of course, you're always going to have those people who ignore that, but at least you can go back. Remember at the beginning of the session, we said we were going to do X, which is what I do with my students. And that works. Okay, here's another one. I'd love to hear you guys' response to this because I've had this happen several times. When a participant challenges your authority as an expert on this topic or a presenter on this topic. So let me hear what you guys have done for that situation. Participate, don't dominate, respect the thoughts and words of others. Parking lots are always good. Virtual parking lots work as well. You can do those on Jamboards or Padlets or something like that. But what do you do when they challenge your right to present on this topic? Okay, so Liz says, I don't claim to be the expert, simply the messenger of content. One of the programs I was at would have eaten you alive with that.
Oof, yeah.
I will tell you what happened is the person came in late after I had introduced myself and literally told me that as a trainer, I had no idea what happened in the classroom and had no right to explain to them anything. For those of you who don't know me, I've been teaching English for 35 years, teaching adults for 35 years in different aspects. And I had mentioned that at the beginning, but that person walked in late and didn't have that experience with me. Kind of shocked me.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Olga.
yeah. So they're aware of your background, right, Olga? And I love the idea that who was saying that you can yeah, the introduction and giving information about yourself. But I love what Liz, when you came up with that idea that it's like, look, this is the content, it's been vetted by experts. Haha, you call experts. So you can kind of pass the buck a little bit if somebody's very obstinate with you. A lot of us do have, I mean, we have degrees, we've studied education, we've been in the field, but instead of like trying to get, getting defensive, we could just, I like that. It just like, it could stop that right there. I hadn't thought about that, Liz. That's a good one.
Yeah, and usually when somebody attacks me like that, I recognize right away that that person was told that they had to be at this training and did not want to be there.
They don't want to be there.
And so I'm going to do other things to try and connect that person to the content. So in that case, I said, just so you know, I am a classroom teacher. I know you came in late and you didn't hear that, but I've been doing this a long time. And what I'm sharing are things that I actually do. So I had that happen also in 2 different locations. I had one who, I was with Tracy one time and the person said, you all do this, that, and the other. And I said, what do you mean you all? I'm not a you all, I'm a you. I'm part of y'all. So just making sure they understand that you have experience. I was listening to the introductions. Everybody in here has experience working with ESL students. So you want to make sure that they know that. All the TOT content has been vetted and piloted, etc. And even if you wrote the TOT content, you can still put it back on TCall. Okay, well, I'll share that back with the people at TCall and see if they want to make those changes. I'll let them know about, or you can put it on your evaluation, let them know that you think the content needs to be updated. I'm fine with that too. Okay, we'll do one more of these because of time. We've got 10 minutes and a lot to cover still. And our TCall folks need a few minutes to talk about logistics. Okay, so this one, participants goofing around, whether they're on their phones or they're just not paying attention or they're just disruptive. What do you do if you have a participant? I'll give you a scenario from my experience, who walks in and says, I'm only here because I need the PD hours. Don't ask me to do anything. What do you do then? And they go to the back of the room and they get on their phone with their back to you. What do you do?
I'm going to tell on you with your supervisor. No, that doesn't work, but okay. You can still do that, but it's not going to help. Wow.
I know. I have had it
Maybe,
happen.
can you give them a job to do? Like, I know Kay Vaccaro, who is a trainer that we've used a lot. She would, if someone started kind of coming at her, she would like very nicely say, oh, I really need some help. Can you help me with XYZ? She'd find a job for them to do. And it totally turned them around. Yeah, I've seen it happen 2 or 3 times when she's done that.
I have seen that when they're attacking you, but when they come in the door with that, don't call on me, I don't know any other way to handle it. I just let them know I do not have to give you PD hours if you don't participate.
Oh my goodness.
She's but maybe does it work?
Yes, absolutely. So you may want to go to another session, or you may decide you might want to learn something in this session.
I'm not going to give you the PD hours. Yeah. I mean,
I don't have to sign off on it.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Ooh,
and Rachel, I kind of am like you too. I'm kind of like, hey, it's not, I don't like, because I know me personally, it makes me uncomfortable conflict. So I didn't want to engage in conflict. Glenda, you're good that you put that down. I like that too. So that's very interesting.
I'm just being honest. I mean, I think they know that if you're coming to professional development, you are expected to come with an open mind. You're a teacher of all things. So there may be something I know that you don't know, even if you know everything I know, except for this one thing. There's always something you can learn from everybody.
And at
Yeah.
least if you already know everything, you can share and help other people learn. That would probably be my best way. Well, people will be losing out on what if you don't participate. I don't know. I'll be trying to be positive over here. So, yeah.
Different ways to participate, absolutely. And then when they're online, I can't really tell if they're participating or not.
Yeah.
So if they don't tell me up front they're not doing anything, then that's a little bit different.
Griselda had a way she put in, like, can we say there are different ways to participate? Okay.
Yeah, and I like that idea of saying how maybe you can
Mhm.
share, or giving them a job. That always helps. If
Mhm.
they don't have all their walls up, and if they have all their walls, I guarantee there is something else going on in their life that day.
Mhm.
It is not about the professional development.
I do
So
what
you,
Liz does.
you still want to be nice, but you do have to say you're there for a job. I'm there to do a
Mhm.
job. I think that it's important to bring it back to the students and to the
Yeah,
classroom
while
at the
we're
end of the
there.
day. We're here to make ourselves better. Okay, so for time's sake, I'm going to move on to just talking about flexibility. I mentioned I am a musician, so Denise didn't quite get my picture here. So does anybody understand why I use this picture for flexibility?
Because she knows the
Rachel got
soundboard.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have ever had to run the soundboard in any kind of event, you can set it and walk away and something will happen. There'll be feedback in the mic. One of the amps will go offline. Something is going to happen. So pretty much whenever you have a concert or you have online recording or recording in a studio booth, somebody's got to be on that soundboard and they have to make adjustments, right? People usually say don't mess with it. The tech people have set it the way they want it. Don't mess with it. That is the best thing to do if you can get it set. And that is the ideal presentation situation, right? I have it set. I have my slides. I have my pacing guide. It's all set. Don't mess with it. And then something happens. And so you have to be able to adjust it on the fly. So there has to be somebody in that room that knows what buttons to push up or push down to get it back on. So the example that we use, look, I'm looking at my invisible watch. So the example that we use for this is if you're running out of time at the end of the session, kind of like we are doing now, how do you make adjustments? Do you have it in your mind ahead of time where you can cut? So I skipped over the active listening. I didn't cover all of the difficult types of participants. And we're just talking about making adjustments instead of doing what I usually do is give you a really hard task like you're halfway through your presentation and only a quarter of the way through your slides or something and making you figure out where to make it up. But that's the other thing to keep in mind is be familiar enough with the content. Please do not look at the content the night before. Be familiar enough with the content that you know where you can shave off time if you need to. That's that main point there. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over really quickly before, well, if there are any questions before we go, I'm going to have Tracy and Michelle talk about logistics. But first, while we finish this section up, do you guys have any questions about the overview of the trainer side of things? Or comments? Love me or hate me, it's all good. Just don't tell me you're not going to participate in my training. Okay, if you have anything, you can put it in the chat. Otherwise, Tracy, you can take it over. You or Michelle, whoever is running that part.
Okay, I will do that. Thanks, Glenda and Denise. Thank you very much. We just hope that you got some great ideas, and these are things that we won't then be going over Thursday and Friday. We get into the meat of everything, and we're excited about that. Before we wrap up today, we do want to go over any last minute questions that you have about logistics. And so the first thing I want to do is all of you should have gotten the email on Friday about the venue change here to at Lone Star College Systems office. And I'm trying to get my screen to move up a little bit or something. Okay. But did everyone get that email? And you know that we've changed the venue where it is going to be, right? Did everyone get the email? No, Rachel.
Tell
did you
every,
not get
the
it?
out-of-state people have
Oh,
not gotten it yet.
have not gotten it. Okay,
I'm
sorry.
about to
Okay,
send it,
good.
but I was about to send it, but I could not find the room.
Okay, it is room. Okay, the room is not on the map. It is
Yeah.
room.
113.
Michelle, what is that
113.
saying? 113. Okay.
Tracy, if you'll do the plus sign and you'll make that a little bit bigger up there at the
Well,
top, the plus.
yeah, okay. And then I didn't have, see, now I can't see it on the screen very good though, Olga.
Oh.
But the room number was not on here. Maybe Anson, you could scan it. That's
Yeah, I
a
got it
box.
now. I got it.
Okay.
It was
and-
Michelle had sent it in the email. I
Okay,
just didn't pick
okay,
up
that's
on
a
it. Yeah.
good point. So it is room 113. Thank you. This isn't far. It's like 7 minutes from, if you're staying at the Embassy Suites, not far from there. In fact, if you're staying at the Embassy Suites, you know, there's a Starbucks, there's several things on the way there, but don't be late to the event. And so it is in, okay. Oh, there we go. I forget I have a touch screen now on my laptop. And so this makes it easier for me this way. It is in building 2. So when you come in, it's on it's pretty easy to find. Now I say that I live here, so that makes it easy for me. But when you come in on Research Forest, and then you're going to get in the parking lot, it is in building number 2. So just keep that in mind. I think that's it's a nice area. Room 113 in building 2. Okay. So I just wanted to share that. Anson's going to send that out to y'all. Now, I think the Texas people, Michelle has sent out information about y'all's rooms and been very clear about that. Anson, did you want to say anything about, I don't know where y'all are staying.
Yeah, we're at the Candlewood Suites.
Okay. Okay.
And I got a 15-passenger van, and I'll run people back and forth, because Della and I spoke today, and it was like crazy to think of all of us taking little Ubers all the way over there to, just a few minutes away. So, yep, I'll do that. And I may even try to get some people at the airport too. We'll see what the
Okay. Well, great.
like.
Great. And Olga, you had your hand up.
I did. Are there any special instructions for parking restrictions, etc.?
No, there's not. You don't need we don't need your license. You don't need anything for your dashboard. Just park there. And we'll bring some ideas for lunch. There are places right very close, not walking distance, but very close to there to eat, several options. So I think that'll give you, we'll type up something for you there. And good questions. Anything else? We did have a few venue changes at the end. You always have to have your plan B, C, D, and E in your back pocket. That's all I have to say about that. So, and Anson, you got the map and everything to send your.
Yep, I got it.
Of course, if you've got them in the van, that'll really help. And Anson, you have my text, my cell, so call me, text me if you need anything. Most of you in Texas have my cell, or you have one of our cells. We will start at 8:30 on Thursday. Please try to be on time. As being adult ed providers, we can't really provide food. So bring your Starbucks. I know from the Embassy Suites, there's a Starbucks on the way. Bring snacks, that kind of thing. Or I know we're going to bring some candy, but, wish we could provide more, but that doesn't fall in our budget things to do. So the last thing I want to do, pull up really quickly, is the evaluation that the Texas people can fill out. The rest of you, this comes through our PD portal. We didn't think about that ahead of time, but we will face-to-face have evaluations for everyone to fill out. So let me put a link in here. Thank you, Paula. I appreciate you doing that. And we're excited. We kind of did this today so we could get right into the meat on Thursday. Denise and Glenda have worked so hard on this. Anson, your support, this has been an all-out team effort with many people that aren't even on here. today. So we're excited to meet those of you we don't know, welcome you to Texas, and give you a Texas welcome, and see you on Thursday morning at 8:30, bright and early. Anything else? Any questions that y'all have?
Just a big thank you to everybody. Yeah.
Great, great.
I'm doing my happy dance. We're on time. Hey.
Yay, I know, it's 4:00. Whoa.
And
Great.
some of you, okay, so that's my cell, Tracy, my cell, if anybody needs it. Robin Booth and I both live in the Woodlands, so we are happy to welcome you here to our neck of the woods, and we will see everybody Thursday morning. Have a great, safe trip, a great rest of your day, and y'all take care. Thanks, Denise and Glenda.
Rachel,
Thank you,
was your hand
Tracy.
up?
Do what?
Yeah, I do have a quick question.
Oh, I'm
but-
sorry, Rachel. I missed
No,
your
it's
hand.
okay. I got here
apologize.
late, so I don't want to even keep anybody here, but do we need to print out the curriculum or anything, or like, I'm planning on having an
question.
iPad to take my notes on. That's all I need to bring?
Right, no.
We've got handouts. It's
We've
an
got
in
it all.
person. Whoa.
We've even got the trainer guide and printed out, so you don't need to bring that. We'll have everything, and I believe for those that are flying, whether it's out of state or even in state, we will, if you can't put it in your suitcase and get it back, we will get it FedEx it or mail it back to you for those that are flying. Okay,
Great.
so good question, Rachel. That was, I didn't even think about mentioning that.
Yes, Della,
That's
for
a
the out
great
of state, Della, right now, we're printing right now. We're going to FedEx those things to
Great. Thank you.
T-Call, to Michelle. We're going to
T-Call
fed.
to bring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks.
Anson, I pull out of here at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. So it's
Okay.
not.
Okay, Anson, 1 p.m. Wednesday. You got it. Or I guess
Probably
you could
driving.
FedEx it to me if you needed to.
Yeah, because Tracy lives there. It makes
in the
sense,
car.
right?
Hey,
Okay.
Anson, that's a thought.
We'll coordinate that.
Okay, that gives you a little more time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure does.
Okay, great question, Rachel. Anything else? Okay, all right. We are rolling and going. It is go week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Forward to seeing everyone. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, Cynthia.
Tracy,
Have a
Michelle, do you
safe
need us to
trip.
stick
Bye,
around for any?
Kimberly. I'm sorry, what?
Do you need Denise and I to stick around for any reason?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one
Okay.
thing to say.